All right, welcome to another pop review where we're going to be reviewing a spoiler review for Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So this is a spoiler review. So if you haven't gone and seen the movie, which a lot of people have, it's doing great at the box office here in the United States and across the pond where Boggs is. Um, Go see the movie and then check out the review. Or if you haven't seen it, go do it and then come back. All right, so joining me for this spoiler review is Boggs across the pond. How's it going, Boggs?
Oh, good, sir. Always happy when we get to see a new, more MCU movie. So yeah, it was good to be back. Like it is cool to see the credits, the opening credits, and hearing the music. It's nice and everything. Watching it from home,
Yeah.
it's cool. Like with Loki or What If or whatever. But seeing it in the theater, it's like, oh, we're in. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's
That
good
got the
experience.
biggest pop when I was in the
Maybe,
theater. It was
yeah.
when the logo came out. I was like, it's like, yeah, man, we're. It's not like that we're back because obviously like Black Widow came out earlier, but
Mm,
I don't know. This one, there's a different vibe in the theater because this is a new character that we were being introduced to, and a lot of people you don't know what. Obviously, we've seen the trailers, but we don't know exactly what to expect coming in. So I think it was just this anticipation of like, what is this movie going to be like? And yeah, I think well, first of all, we're just gonna give our overall thoughts. Then we're gonna go into some what we liked about the movie, like. Then we're gonna talk about the post credit scenes, and then we'll give our overall score. So, Boggs, your overall thoughts on Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings?
Overall, obviously going in from like critics or the reviewers, YouTubers that I kind of watch and respect, some we know personally, give almost universal praise for this movie. So I was eagerly anticipating it. Big new character, Asian descent, being like a first generation American immigrant story, going against obviously the culture and traditions of what you are supposed to do, that kind of thing. So I do love that kind of culture clash. And um, I thought, Simu Liu makes a strong mark on his MCU debut as Shang-Chi and facing up to his father and the sins of his past. Overall, I liked it basically as had I basically I just felt it was good. And however, I'm not in love with the movie. I do have several gripes with it. I'd love to know your opinion on some of
Mm-hmm.
these things or some things I just wish they were a bit braver story wise choices, things like that. But I think like it was very crouch up until a certain point. It was like very Crouch a Tiger, Hidden Dragon esque or like Jackie Chan esque. Um, like even scenes from like Speed or Rush Hour, and that was all cool.
Yeah.
Mixed with the obviously MCU flavor. But some of the yeah, like I said, some story points, story arcs, I would like to have seen them being a bit braver with, which would have made the movie a little better for me. But um, yeah, I just thought it was a fun action movie. I wasn't. There was no X factor for me in this. There was nothing that made me jump out of my seat. There was no. For me personally, I wasn't emotionally invested in this movie. I just felt it was a fun action movie, and it was nice to see some things. But yeah, I'll get into specifically what I'm referring to a bit later on with you. But overall, it's definitely fun. I mean, if you like action movies, basically, you can't not like this movie. Not even MCU movies or Marvel movies or superhero movies, just basically action movies. Martial arts alone, you're going to respect this. So yes, it's definitely a fun movie.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting because you said like the reviews in this movie are just off the charts,
Yeah,
and I think it raised my expectation level
me too.
really really high.
Mm,
Going, I'm just like I can't wait to like drape this movie all over me and embrace it
right,
like Infinity War level, Endgame level,
sure.
original Avenger level, Winter Soldier level. It's very very good, but not what like super great. It's not on like that. It's not in my top five MCU movies, which arguably going in based on what I was hearing, I was like, oh, maybe it might be.
Hmm.
So, but I really enjoyed it. I love Simu Yu did an amazing job in this movie. The action in this movie is great, and yes, it is a little bit of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. It's in certain fights, in other fights, it's just like a kung fu version of action in the MCU, like MCU action with
Mm.
kung fu flavor. So I was digging that. Um, it's just not as I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting, but it was just not what I thought it was gonna be, and that's totally okay. At the end, it kind of went into its the average big battle scene stuff, which we'll get to, which is
Mm.
like, do we have to do that? I guess we have to, which is fine. But I was just more concerned about like Simu Yu, like what is he gonna bring to this character? What is he gonna bring to the MCU? And we saw that his father. How are they gonna address like his backstory? And I like that. Aquafina was very funny. She's in it a lot more than I thought it would be. So um, it's funnier than I thought. The action was great because there was different types of it. But for just some strange, maybe again, maybe it's my fault because I'm sitting there thinking this is gonna be one of the best MCU movies of all time. It's just very, very good. It's better than Black Widow, but it's not like it's not Infinity War, it's not Endgame, it's not the original Avengers, and not Winter Soldier. It's not on that level, but I mean, it's like the 25th movie. It's on a good level. It's in the top 10 probably. I'm not gonna name all top 10 because that's the story for another day.
Say that for another show. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it's up there. It's really, especially if you consider it as an origin movie, it's definitely up there. Because like Iron Man's up there, Ant-Man's up there for me. Thor, I don't consider that an origin movie because he was already Thor. Captain America is up there, but yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. But again, maybe because the expectations were just way too high, but I really, really enjoyed it.
I don't think so. Like, as in, I don't think you're wrong to think that because that's the narrative going in. Obviously we are in this, critic space, I guess, and our friends and peers or whatever, or people that we kind of look up to, literally maybe the most excited I've seen these guys for an MCU movie. It just generally speaking. So
Yeah,
being and then me not having that kind of same thought afterwards. I mean, that's just I think maybe who knows, maybe they're other motives or like other ideas or whatever, but definitely for me I'd put it in the middle of my MCU ranking, probably upper
sure.
half. But yeah, overall, you mentioned some positives there about the movie. I did actually quite like Aquafina and Simu Liu's relationship in this,
Oh
and that
yeah,
it wasn't. I actually liked it wasn't a romantic one because that is
yes,
fresh and new. Like, oh, they're just two friends who just like basically love each other and just got this great bond and great connection, but they didn't kiss in the movie or like they didn't hook up or anything just random like that because they just fit. Like, it was just really refreshing. And
yeah,
Aquafina, she was very funny in the movie. Didn't laugh at absolutely everything, but overall, yeah, I did appreciate her humor. The dad, that character, he's the best character in the movie.
oh yeah, absolutely.
His backstory is fascinating. Obviously him in the rings, and with the obviously the wife and how old he is. Being 1,000 years. I want to see that story. What's he been doing these 1,000 years? And his connection when he called that old man, young man. I've lived 10 times your lifetime.
Yeah,
I was like, what? That's so cool. Yeah, like hear all this stuff, and he was awesome. I love that. And yeah, like I said, some of the action stuff was obviously a very Crouching Tiger esque, and I like the scene where Aquafina was hanging off the bamboo.
yeah.
Straight out of Rush Hour.
Rush
That
Hour,
was.
yeah,
Yeah,
Rush Hour
exactly.
too.
You could
Straight out of
tell
it.
some of the action scenes. You could tell they've taken from this movie or taken from this movie. You could literally pick out the movies
Yeah,
that they've kind of stole
speed. I
from.
mean,
Yeah,
the bus thing was that's speed with MCU style. Like,
and that was also a really good scene as well. It was
oh,
15 minutes or so. We see
absolutely.
in the trailer. Yeah, awesome scene. We see him fully. You see the physical stuff as well that he's doing. Maybe one of the better, if not the best, physical kind of action actor in the MCU potentially. Like some of the stuff that he was doing, I thought was really good. Obviously, they do use CG in it as well. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
but yeah, I thought he was really good.
And the humor around that scene too, with the guy on the phone,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
all
yeah.
that stuff was just great.
Of
And
course,
then her
he's
like
the
having the,
guy as what I seen on Twitter. I didn't even realize in the movie he is in Homecoming. He's the one shouting to Spider-Man to do the
oh yeah,
backflip and stuff when
oh
he's got a hot dog
yeah,
stand. Yeah, yeah, or some kind of stand. That was him. Yeah, yeah. So he's now like a YouTuber. I thought that was so funny. Yeah, and that was a great kind of tie-up.
went from New
That
York
was a
to
funny
San
little Easter
Francisco.
egg.
That's funny.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
And no, I was just gonna say I thought Michelle Yeoh was awesome as well.
she's
The
timeless. She's ageless.
yeah, she's great.
She's ageless.
And I did like even the dad and when he kind of first meets his wife in the opening start, and it was kind of slow and romantic, and I loved it 'cause, again, very Crouching Tiger-esque.
Yeah.
And even though the third act, people do love the third act of this movie. I found it very Godzilla King of the Monsters-esque. I do like that movie, so I didn't mind it. There's some story things that I'll address with you after, but overall, I thought it was fun. Like the ending part. Yes, is it ridiculous? Yes, it was also mythical, and having monsters and other beings. It felt like Narnia meets Godzilla and stuff a little bit.
A little
But
bit.
yeah, them overall positives really. It is fun. So and not only that, I thought Tony was really funny as well. Ben Kingsley character, I thought he was funny. His lines, yeah, and the little thing that he had with him. So yeah, like I said, it is a lot to like about this, but I do have some gripes as well. But please, what else do you like? What are
Yeah.
your main positives?
Well, yeah, I was gonna say Ben Kingsley's character, Slattery, coming back, which is like, I thought him just addressing it was gonna be it. I thought they were just gonna be like, yeah, remember when that guy and call him the Mandarin? He named it after chicken. Like I was like, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. And I thought they were just gonna leave it there because like, all right, you addressed it. That's it. I did not expect Ben Kingsley's character to come back, and then for him to play a larger role. Even then, when he did show up, I was just like, oh, they're just gonna meet him, and then they're gonna explain things, and then he's just gonna leave, or they're gonna leave him there, or I didn't think they would take him with. He would go along with them and kind of be part of the story. And then when he was laying there, you thought he was dead. He's like,
Yeah,
just acting, act dead too. That was funny. So I loved his character in it. Yes, I also agree with you. Like the relationship between Shang Chi and Katie. I love that it was a friendship, and there was points when I thought they were gonna like flip it,
yeah.
because like when he had his shirt off, and she was like, "Oh my god, what happened to your shirt?" And then when he was grabbing her, and later in the movie, and they had this like kind of moment when they were looking at each other, I was like,
sure.
"Are they gonna like?" I would be okay with it, but it's a little refreshing that they didn't. So I have to commend them for that, because especially at the beginning, he just said like when our friend was like, "When are you getting married?" And he's like, "Well, married? We're just friends." And someone's like, they don't believe it, but I could see that they're like, even from this first scene from they're together when she's like she got into the car and she's like, "Come on, I'll go slow," and then they go fast and stuff like I get their relationship right out of the gate, that they're friends. And then the karaoke stuff was hilarious, and I love the callback later with Wong. Like, that was great. Their relationship was great. The action, I felt, especially the beginning part, like with the daughter, with the mom and that reminded me. I don't know if you played a game called Dynasty Warriors.
No, top of my head.
So it's kind of like this. It's a fighting game where you're fighting as ancient Chinese characters, and then there's like large groups of soldiers coming at you, and you have like these special attacks where you could just like blow, like there's hundreds of characters on the screen. You could just blow them away with your special attacks and stuff like that. It just felt like that, especially at the beginning, where he's just like taking the rings. He's just like wiping rows and rows of guys out of the way. So the action scenes were great, and I loved like there was a distinction between like before Shang-Chi got the rings, it was kind of like a more of an MCU kind of style of kung fu action, And then when his father and mother were fighting, it was more of like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And then at the end, we kind of got a mixture of the two, which was I like their last battle scene, the father and son fighting. I loved that.
Hmm.
That that's all I really needed, to be honest. Um, but yeah, I thought the comedy was great. Um, I think that's all my positives. But yeah, so I'm curious to see where your negatives are. I'm curious
Building
to
up
see
to it, yeah.
yeah, let's go.
Yeah, I'm
Go,
just thinking
go,
of
go.
other movies that they've referenced. House of Flying Daggers, Hero as well, the Jet Li movie. Like you
Yeah,
can see where they're taking the stuff from. So you see the love for that. And also, my favorite probably scene in the movie was when the dad took the young Simu Liu character or young Shang Chi character to like the bar that they're doing, and the way he put a beat down on them guys in the
yeah.
bar, that was great, man. Like the way how like vicious he was, and killing the guy right in front of it, his son, and yeah, it was great, and using the rings and all that. Yeah, I love that scene. Yeah, it was ruthless
I,
there,
I
and
I mean, another good thing. Oh yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off, but another good thing is just the how they use the rings
yeah,
too.
that's so great.
You're like kind of like like almost a little bit like a lasso in a sense,
Mm,
where he's just like flinging them out, and then they come like that. Because obviously in the comics they're physical rings,
mm.
and I love the fact that you just changing it and putting it on your arms, where you can extend them out as weapons like
It's like
that.
springs or whatever,
Exactly,
however way you want to use it. Yeah, it's
because
great.
it makes it stand out more. Because if you do the ring thing and he's just shooting things off, it feels more like he's almost kind of like Iron Man in a sense.
Maybe.
Where this way it makes his power seem more unique
Mm,
and authentic.
hmm.
So it gives him his really his own kind of space. He can use it kind of to propel himself and things like that. So I liked visually how they look and how they came across in the movie. So I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just want to make
I
sure I
agree.
put
No,
that.
no, I agree. The CG around there and the design of them even it was all great. So yeah, some of the things I didn't like in the movie. So uh, Aquafina, okay, she was funny, and there's nothing wrong with her performance or anything like that. However, she's in almost every scene, and she is just to generalize and summarize. She's basically the funny sidekick to
Yeah.
Shang Chi. So she doesn't. So she, I feel like she was there in almost every scene, and she did not need to be. I found it took me out of the movie of how often she's there. She's, when the dad and son are talking, she's there. When the brother and sister are talking, she's there. When he's, on a mission or when he's fighting for his life, she's there. Like she's just there with every scene. Even the one the last scene, he takes her out. He doesn't have to take her out. He is the chosen one in this story. She doesn't need to be there, but again, she's there. So it just took me out of the movie a little bit that she's always there. And I just found it a little bit annoying, actually, to be honest, that she's the funny psychic. Is Ned in every scene of Spider-Man? No. Or is Happy in every scene of Iron Man? No. They're just the funny sidekicks that help them along or act as the audience or narrate the story for us a little bit or fill in the gaps. Absolutely fine. Like, yes, I understand why she's there, but she's not an integral. Like, is she going to be an Avenger now? Like, I just completely threw me off with that. So that was the first one. Secondly, like I said, the father and his storyline is my favorite part of the movie. Um, Gutted the way they killed him off, and even why do they even have to kill him off? Like, I just again that's just a very similar, MCU trope or action movie trope. The father dies after he doesn't get on with the son, and how he dies and everything. I thought that they sold him a bit short with that. Like, why can't he live at the end and like be the head of the Ten Rings with his daughter, or like it's okay, like you can redeem yourself. And the way he was just punching the wall and saying she's behind there, and like everyone else saying no, come on, stop it, and the way he was just doing it over and over again, and then he gets his soul sucked. I was almost rolling my eyes at his death scene. I thought his character deserved better than that, and he's got such an interesting backstory. Although I did see some things on, I think it was on Twitter, where because of how old he is, 1,000 years old, etc. I believe that there is rumors that he's linked to the Eternals, or he's in the movie potentially. So hopefully he gets some backstory there. But yeah, I was a bit gutted that they killed him off because he's such a good character. And also with that death scene of Simu Liu, of Shang-Chi and his father, that upon many scenes in the final third of the movie, why are they not speaking their language? They're speaking in English, and it really annoyed me. Like the start of the movie when it's just them two in wherever they're training,
Yeah.
it's in excuse me, I don't know the language. I believe it's Mandarin
Yeah.
or whatever
I
language
believe
they're
it's
speaking.
Mandarin that they're speaking. Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the movie, when it's just them two fighting or talking things like fighting with the rings, before, he died, why are they speaking English? Or like there's several scenes at the end. Okay, when Katie's there, I understand. Or like him and his auntie, they're speaking English when they're together. I was like, what's going on here? Like that would just make it more, for me, more Asian, more Crouch Tiger, Hidden Dragon, more, Hero, more House
Yeah.
of Flying. I'd just be more invested in this world. And if he's speaking to his family in the language that he's growing up with, and instead of just English, when there's no English speaking characters around, I just felt that did take me out of the movie. They're my major gripes. I've got some smaller ones really, but yeah, I think that would bring an extra layer of emotion. Hearing an Asian score, seeing a death scene, speaking the language, I just felt it took a bit of emotion out of it for me. Because at the start, with it when he was growing up as a kid and everything, I felt that was just I thought that was more authentic in terms of believability and things like that. And one last thing as well, Sean, so a couple of the characters, like I don't know why Ben Kingsley is in this movie. Like, why does he need to be in it? Like, I thought the same thing. I thought they were going to leave. It was a funny bit, and they were just going to leave him in the prison cell. Why did they need to bring him along? Like, it was almost like it was like a pointless thing. Like for him to do that joke at the end. Like, I was like, is this the tie-up that you're doing? Is that it? And also the sorry, I forgot the guy's name. Is it Razor? Who plays a Creed 2? He's Ivan Drago's son. The
Yeah.
leader of the
Yeah.
Ten Rings or whatever. Again, I would like. Why is it? I would love if he was Asian. Like, why does he have to be a Romanian guy? Again, that took me out a little bit. The whole gang, and the whole empire there. It's a big scale scope story. I understand, but I just look like there isn't a big, muscular, swole, Asian character that could have played that role. It took me out a little bit. Again, I felt this is the stuff that I mentioned earlier about potentially, pandering potentially, because for I don't know for audiences or whatever the case is, I don't know. Some other critics wouldn't point this stuff out. People like you and me will maybe spot these things where other people didn't. So or the people may not want to talk about. These are my kind of main gropes in the movie. Like I said, the language, some of the no subtitle, or where it's appropriate to add the subtitles, or like I said, not having all Asian cast would have been great. Where it's appropriate to, like the gang leader, why is he Romanian? Just make him Asian. Like it seems like a basic thing for me. And really Aquafina, really just being in every single scene, almost having as much screen time as Simu Liu. And it just put me. I just felt like her stardom was. It just felt like oh, because she's such a big star and she's hot property
Yeah.
in the minute. That's what it kept making me think that. Unfortunately, but like I said, nothing wrong with her performance or the guy that played is it Razor Fist? I forget his name.
Yeah. But
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with what he's doing in the movie. Like, yeah, I think he's fine. He's great in Creed 2, but it's just things like this. I kind of took away from the movie a little bit from me. But please, your thoughts on any
I mean, to address what you said, so the subtitle thing, I was actually surprised there was much subtitles in it as there were. Like them speaking Mandarin as there were. I'm pretty sure it was Mandarin, and if it's not, I apologize. But because Americans don't like, in general speaking, they don't like subtitles. They just don't. So the amount that we got was just refreshing because I didn't expect there to be that much in it to begin with, especially at the beginning. It's a lot of it's in Mandarin, and I'm just like, wow, okay. Is most of the movie going to be like this? Obviously, it wasn't, but I tend to agree with you in the sense that yes, it would have felt more organic and authentic if once it's just the two of them. Maybe not the whole time, but at certain points you're gonna speak Mandarin to each other. I get that, but then from a Disney Marvel side, Americans don't like subtitles that much.
I just feel like if you're gonna do it all the way. Like
Yeah.
like that would, I don't know. I just think I'd be more invested if that
No,
was the
I agree
case.
with you. But to be fair though, it's in it way more than I thought it was going to be.
Okay.
Even though with that fact that Americans don't like it, and generally they don't like it. Like for me, it didn't bother me at all. It's the words at the bottom. You just read them. It's not that hard. But I get it. But at the same time, it didn't bother me like it did you. But I could understand what you're saying. If it was there, would it have hooked me more? Maybe. But I think the scene worked either way. To be honest, could have been more enhanced, potentially. With the Aquafina stuff, yes, she's in it a lot. Again, more than I thought, which is not a bad thing. But for me, if she's gonna be in it more, have her own journey than just like being in the room while everybody else is talking and she's not really involved in the conversation.
Right.
The fact that towards the end when she starts like learning how to shoot the bow and arrow, I'm just like,
Oh my god, the bow! You just reminded me. The bow as
like,
well. Sorry, one thing. The bow. Why is she shooting the? They made a joke out of it at the end of the movie. Oh, like I only learned to shoot 24 hours ago. Like yes, I know. And she killed. She almost killed the dragon. The old man should have done it, or someone like Michelle Yeoh's character should have done it. Who's been training all their lives. To take out these beasts. They should have done it right instead of she just literally learned she can't even shoot. They told her don't fight in this. You can't shoot. You're not ready. And then she take like I just come on man like
well
that just summed up my frustration with that character. But sorry.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with her shooting it because like again, if she's gonna be in the movie a lot, she needs something to do.
I think my reaction was in the theater, like literally.
But like let her have her own journey. Let her like start to try to figure out what her place is because it is a matter of her trying to figure out what is her place in the world. What does she have to offer? And it was like she had a conversation with her mom. It's like, oh, you studied and all this stuff, and you just parked in cars.
Yeah.
What's the point of you doing that? So I understand. Like she had her own, all the elements of her having her own like her own arc and her home like story are all right there. They just didn't use it, and they just automatically just like, all right, boom, you're gonna be a hero now, and like one or two scenes of her shooting the bow and just like, all right, now I guess she could do it now. I'm like, yeah, she could have, but in all those scenes where she's not really doing anything, she's with Shang Chi and the rest of them. She could have been off with that old man, learning things, learning how to like trying to figure out like what weapon she could use. Like so maybe she starts with a bow, like oh that doesn't like with a staff, oh that doesn't work. Maybe she starts with knife, like no you can't do that, and then she figures out oh I could just shoot an arrow, and like that kind of stuff. Like scenes with her doing that would have made a lot more sense to when she does shoot the arrow at the end. Someone like you just second, but like oh, it would at least have a little bit more meaning to it to see her kind of like get there. You know what I mean? She just got there way too quick for me, which I get, but at the same time, if you're gonna have her in the movie a lot, give her more stuff to do on her own. She didn't have to be right underneath Simu Yu's Shang-Chi's character like all the time. Like let her go off, especially when they got to Long Wu, I think it was called. She should be on her own doing her own thing with that old man and just figuring 100%. Her own stuff out. So that's just me. But the thing, the Slattery stuff was just like, it was too much. Like he's like all his jokes were just like, okay, I get it. That little flurry thing was just like, whatever. The Nardia stuff looked really interesting. I'm hoping we go back there again because I'm just curious, like how does like I'll put it this way: the second movie has a lot of explaining to do because it says like oh this island's this world is here.
I believe they mentioned they're from another universe.
Yeah, but
but that's it.
I'm just so like fascinated about like I want to learn more about what all these creatures are and like that like the second one should focus a lot on that, to be honest. Hopefully it does. But other negatives is just I don't know, the movie kind of slowed. It had a really good pace to it for a while, and then it just kind of
In the middle.
slowed down. Yeah, it
Saw
slowed
that too.
down for a lot.
I
And I
saw
was
that.
just like, so pacing issues are what were
Mhm.
a little bit of an issue for me. Um, but other than that, I don't necessarily. Yes, killing the father too. Wasn't a fan of that, especially if the daughter now is taking over the Ten Rings.
Mm.
It would be fascinating for her to take it over, and then the father is a prisoner, and then like they're holding him captive there, and then she can go to him for advice or something like that. Like have that kind of dynamic, like kind of like Loki was didn't die in Thor: The Dark World. He's in prison, and
Mm.
Thor kind of has conversations with him, and eventually lets him out to go do their thing. I think that would have been a little bit more fascinating situation if he's still around to kind of counsel her or to kind of like give her advice on what she's going to be overtaking. So and plus the way he died was kind of just like
Yeah, and he just like gives the rings
anticlimactic.
over, and
Yeah,
then like,
yeah,
yeah, he deserved better than that. He was
he did.
my favorite character in the movie.
Did he deserve more backstory?
I mean,
No,
yeah, I'd like to see a
I would have
different
liked.
movie. I'd like to see his
Yeah,
own movie backstory, but I
or
didn't
like a
need.
Disney Plus show. Like in the movie, I think we got just enough that we
Yeah,
needed.
sure, sure.
But at the same time, you're right. He steals. He doesn't steal the movie, but I'm just. I was
It's
like
great.
really enjoyed every single time he was in it. I like the fact that it's like they're keeping me from my wife. I want my
Mm.
like that whole storyline made. I loved it. I wish it would have went more. Like I wish he just kept hearing her voice more and more and more, and they just kept like enraging him more, just like him getting more angry. Like
Mm.
I want to see him furious. Like you're keeping me from my wife. I want him to go over the top, pissed off,
Mm.
because like I gave up everything for this woman, and now to find that she's still alive, you're keeping her from me. Like I wanted to go. I would have been fine with him going over the top, angry.
Another thing you talked about his wife there, her kind of death scene where they cut away. I was like, what? I want to see that. That was like a Kill Bill moment where that gang try
Yeah,
to his father's the father's past is catching up with him. I thought that was great, and then they cut away. I was gutted, gutted, and then they just show when she died, and then he comes back, kind of avenges her. But I would have loved to seen her because without her powers and how many people she took down and everything. Again, something that I wish they went into, which very Asian cinema esque. Them kind of scenes are, and I would have loved to have seen that.
yeah. I mean, who's to say they didn't shoot it and they decided not to use it? Um, I hear what you're saying. It didn't bother me that we didn't see it, but I would have been cool if we did. But the way they edited it, where like we're just seeing him watch it, I thought that
Mm.
worked. That worked fine. But yeah, overall, yeah, pacing was more or less just. It just felt like the movie just really like took a nap for a while until we got to where we needed to go. So other than that, them killing the father, didn't like that. Giving Aquafina more meaningful things to do. Other than that, those are my only real negatives, to be honest. And that's, I mean, yeah, that's it. And those aren't really negatives; those are just nitpicks. But
Yeah.
the pacing thing, I think, is the big for me. It was the biggest issue. It just like it felt like the movie was longer than it needed to be.
Mm.
Which is fine. Even though, oh, are you still there? Oh,
So yeah, tech issues.
okay.
Sorry.
I don't know. Yeah, sorry, technical issues. Yeah, that was weird. Anyways, let's talk. Is any other final thoughts before we get to end credits scene stuff?
No, let's do it.
All right, so obviously we get two and a mid credit scene and a post credit scene. So let's talk about the mid credit scene first. So obviously the movie ends with Shang Chi and Katie telling their friends about what's going on, and I love how they bookend that where she's just like at the beginning she's like do something with your lives, and then now they go do something, she's like I believe you, and then Wong comes in, and then he takes them away, and then in the mid credit scene we see that they're examining the rings, trying to figure out what they're made out of, where they come from, and then Captain Marvel is there. Smart. Okay. Oh, I think we're back. Yeah, Bob, what are your thoughts on the
Don't know
mid
what's
credit
happening
scene?
here. Yeah, some tech
Yeah.
issues. Yeah, mid credit scene. Yeah, it was really good. Obviously funny. You know that callback scene, as you said, when in the bar, and then Wong shows up. I was glad it was him as well because from the I thought the scene with that he had earlier. I thought, is this just a cameo? Is this just a 2 second scene that he's in? So I was glad he got a callback with that. Brought them out. Yeah, and I was shocked to see Bruce Banner and Captain Marvel there. So yeah, it was great. Again, we don't know where the rings are from. Not vibranium, not found from kind of any element from Earth. So it looks from a different place potentially. So yeah, we'll see. Really fascinating, and then doing that callback at the end with the karaoke stuff was really funny as well. So um, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was really good.
Uh-oh. Bogz dropped. Okay, okay, he's back. Okay, I don't know if I'm having internet issues or you are, but the last thing I heard was basically you saying that you were interested to see Captain Marvel there.
Oh yeah, Captain Marvel, Bruce Banner. Yeah, it was really surprising. I had no clue that they were going to be there, of course. Um, and then seeing that the rings are not from Earth, not vibranium. So leading up to teasing us a bigger story potentially that is otherworldly, and finding out where they're from. And like I said, from I've seen via Twitter, some potentially Eternals, other beings potentially. So that'll be interesting. And doing that callback as well, doing the karaoke again with Wang, I thought was really funny.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah, singing all the songs and stuff. So that was great. But yeah, this was my favorite one. The other end credit scene, obviously, you can go after me, but yeah, I didn't. I wish they swapped it. Basically, that um, I thought it was just, oh, okay, we've got a lot of work to do. They showed that she's the leader of the Ten Rings gang, so and that was it pretty much. But interesting that she didn't. He confirmed in the kind of the ending of the movie that she is disbanding, obviously the Ten
Yeah,
Rings, and she doesn't look like she is, so she looks like she's gearing up for something. So again, interesting, and did reveal that the Ten Ring shall return. So yeah, we'll see for the next movie. It teases something well there, but yeah, it was nice to see that he seems to be very quickly adapted into the Avengers. Oh, like you one of us now, kind of thing. So
yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
it was fun. It was fun, but yeah, it was nice to see all the other characters and like obviously some subtle things there. Obviously Bruce Banner is clearly not. He's like in his human form again, a
yeah,
humanoid, whatever. Carol Danvers' hair's longer, so obviously a certain amount of time has passed since Endgame. Don't know how long exactly. So nice few things to tease us about. But yeah, that first one was really good.
yeah. I mean, yeah, because then like and we were kind of talking about this before. Maybe him being Bruce Banner now has something to do with She-Hulk,
Hmm.
because in the comics she gets become She-Hulk by kind of a blood transfusion.
Hmm.
So is something like that going to still happen? But then does that de-Hulk him? And now the Hulk's kind of in her now. So that's interesting to see. Like, yes, Carol Danvers is longer. I like that she's like, oh, I gotta go. Bruce has my number, and he's like, I really don't have her number. Uh, But also the fact that just is like, all right, you saved the world. Oh, you're an Avenger now. Welcome aboard. It's just like, okay. Um, did it happen a little quick? Maybe, but again, I get it. I get it. Like he has this powerful ancient item that's very very powerful. So that alone and you saving the world, I guess, is enough for you to be an Avenger.
Maybe
But
you need
at
to
the
go for shawarma first, I think.
it may be, yeah. Like there could have been a joke like that. You have to do something like to earn your stripes, but I think that they can still do that in whatever his sequel or in whatever Avengers 5 is going to come out, whatever that's going to be called. They can still kind of poke fun at that. Like how'd you get here so quick? But anyway, yeah, the possibilities of what that beacon is calling out to is endless. So I love the fact that I think they did it right. I think they're in the right order. And then the tease at the end, like I love the fact that he's like, oh yeah, she's disbanding everything. No, she's not. So when he finds out that that's automatic conflict right there. So the seeds of Shang-Chi 2 are right there in front of us. Like she's taking over everything. It's female oriented now, which is also very good and interesting. So I'm curious to see what they do with that. So I love the fact that she said the 10 rings will return in one shape or form, because that doesn't necessarily mean in Shang-Chi 2 they can return
Yeah,
in something else as well as in Shang-Chi 2. So
sure.
that title card has potential meaning as well. So the two end credit scenes, I was like, yep. I love both of these because the possibilities. I love end credit scenes that you're not quite sure where they're gonna go. Like when we in Black Widow, we know exactly what's gonna happen. Like thing is gonna go right after Hawkeye. Like again, this is just kind of ambiguous. I'm not quite sure what's gonna happen.
Right.
She's taking over the 10 rings, but is she gonna do good with it? Is she gonna do bad with it? Is she gonna continue with her underground fighting? Like what is she gonna do? Who knows? So only the future knows. So love the two scenes. Looking forward to what happens next. Boggs, let's rate this thing. So
Sure.
out of 10 rings, how many rings are you gonna give it?
I'm gonna give it 7.5. So it was nice to get an exploration and representation of Asian culture overall. Simu Liu was great. The dad was great. It was funny. Martial arts was good as well. But like I said, the not getting an explanation of I think it's called Talo or Talo, the area, the
Yeah,
magical area. Not getting an explanation about that, or lack of explanation about it. And some of the, like I said, some of the story choices, some of the, I feel like they didn't go in as much as I'd like them to, in terms of the authenticness of it, and I felt it was a little bit pandering, for whatever reasons. But overall, like I said, I did enjoy it. Fun action movie. Like I said earlier, I'll put it in the middle of my MCU, middle upper half of my MCU ranking. But yeah, definitely worth seeing in the theater because it is a big scope and scale
yeah,
story. So definitely worth that. Plus that kind of last third of the movie is very CG heavy, so it's definitely worth it in the theater. But yeah, that's 7.5.
yeah. I'm gonna go 8. Like I really enjoyed this movie. Again, expectations aside, I thought it was really really good. The only reason I can't go higher than that because like I said, the pacing issues really
Mhm.
got to me. At some point, I'm just like, all right, let's keep going. And then the way they handled the father, I just didn't necessarily wish they. I wish they would have. They didn't kill him off. They don't have to
Yep.
like WandaVision showed us. You don't have to kill off your villain. You can put him in your back pocket and save him for a rainy day again. He'd be an interesting person to keep around.
Hmm.
He's been around for 1,000 years. He knows stuff.
For sure.
So especially like whenever comes whoever that beacon's coming to, you kind of would have a good idea of like how to deal with whoever that is or whatever that is. Just saying.
Exactly.
But anyways, yeah, 8. I can't give it more than that. But yeah, the action, the comedy, the spectacle of it just looked amazing. Like yeah, you're right. It was almost like watching Narnia. It looked amazing. And you have to give it up to Marvel. Like the CGI in this movie looked great, great. Especially because considering we were supposed to see it a year ago.
Mm.
But yeah, I give it an 8. Lots of fun. Really enjoyed it. Can't wait to see these characters again. I think that's also one of the most important things. Like we just met these people, and I want to see more from them. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Now, obviously, we're getting the Eternals in November, and we're getting Spider-Man: Far From Home in December. So funny, we've had so much Marvel content, and we're still getting a lot more. It's just been the year of the Marvel.
Obviously, What If is currently on
Yeah,
at the moment as
What
well.
If is coming. Yep, the Hawkeye series is coming. I'm surprised we haven't seen a trailer yet, considering it's coming out in November. So the trailer, it shouldn't be too far off. I can't wait to see that and see what. There's still, we're not quite sure of Miss Marvel, if that's gonna come out this year or not. They haven't officially said.
Hmm.
So that'd be interesting to see. But yeah, we still got a whole lot of Marvel content to cover. I'm excited to cover it and talk about it. But yeah, Boggs, any of the last thoughts before we get out?
No, just I did like I said, overall enjoyed the movie. I'm not putting it on a pedestal as much as I thought I would do going in. Based on the kind of rumors and hype. But it's definitely good. I'd say good, not great. Yeah, it's fun time. Nice to see Simu Liu and because a lot of pressure on him. I thought
Yeah,
held his own great. And, things like the costumes are great and the set design
yeah,
and seeing different parts of the world. And I did like that, seeing the different, like I said, the culture clash of being first generation immigrant against traditions and following your parents and your own history and things like that. So especially like Aquafina didn't speak Chinese too well. um
yeah,
they did like again, something else that I think maybe they pandered a little bit, where if you don't speak the local language, you're you're like ostracized, not like they don't just forget, oh yeah, don't worry, just come along. So um yeah, I don't understand why they done that though. I'm not holding that against them, but yeah, no, it was definitely fun, definitely better than Black Widow. But yeah, can't wait to see what else is next for Shang Chi and the rest of them.
yeah. And then they played the Eternals trailer again. I'm just like, man, that thing just
Yeah, it
looks
looks better in
amazing.
the theater, right?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm not quite sure what's happening, but I want to go and find out. Like, I'm surprised they didn't show the Spider-Man trailer.
Mm.
I was a little shocked by that. I was waiting for it, and they didn't show it. I was like, that's interesting. Like, I get that they want to kind of keep the focus on Shang-Chi and then the Eternals because that's next. So obviously we know the Spider-Man trailer is going to play in front of Eternals. We know that for sure. But I was a little surprised. But at the end of
Hmm.
the day, I'm okay. I saw it. Cool. I'll see it in the theaters at some point. So it's okay. All right. So that's our thoughts. So let's know what you guys think in the comics. Comments? What did you guys think about Shang Chi? Did you enjoy the action? Did you enjoy the comedy? What did you think of Aquafina? What did you think about the the interactions with his sister? Ben Kingsley's character coming back. The land, the end credit scenes, all that. Let us know in the comments. Also, like, subscribe, do all those great things. Just like Bog said, we're still doing our reviews for What If. When Hawkeye comes, we'll do those. When the Eternals comes out, we'll do a spoiler review on that as well as when Spider-Man: Far From Home, No Way Home comes out, because that movie's highly anticipated. So you can look for all that stuff on the channel to come. But until then, I'm Sean. That's Boggs. I got it right there. Till next time, guys. Take care.